Hello everybody, this is Sanjit the Idiot and welcome back to a very special podcast part 2 with NBZ himself. Hello NBZ.
Hi Sanjit, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing very good, cousin. How is your sister?
She's not here because you're around.
Oh, that is a great shame. Please pass on this love letter I wrote to her.
Absolutely. Definitely won't throw this away. Definitely.
Anyway, I will drop the voice. This is Sanjit the Idiot. Feels conflicted about doing the voice now, but hey, we thought we'd roll with it.
Yeah, we're kind of in a weird era right now, aren't we? Politically.
We are. As usual, NBZ, we're going to gloss over it.
Yes,
and,
of
wish
course.
everyone peace and love. That is my message.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Last time we talked a lot about your Pokemon career,
yes.
which was fun for us all, I hope. We covered mainly the 4th gen era of your career, which is mainly you starting out, gaining a big following, having lots of fun playing the game, interacting with fans. And now we kind of lead on to the era, the black and white era almost, although there's probably a little bit of crossover with late Gen 4.
Sure.
I wanted to kick things off this time by talking about how you kept up such a regular output of videos for such a long time, and how difficult was that to do. I'm thinking, you can start this story wherever you want, but I'm thinking especially when you moved to university, I was expecting kind of a drop-off in your videos as a viewer, and instead they kind of went through the roof. So you know it better than I do, so please.
Sure. So I guess I started putting out a lot of stuff during 5th gen, not necessarily right at the beginning, but maybe a few months in, when I'd kind of found a pace and I basically had a schedule for the first time ever, which was, I believe I did Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday battle uploads, and then I think I would maybe do LP stuff in between if I had time or whatever, but it was pretty consistent for like a good year or two, I think, of 5th gen stuff, where I was just constantly making sure I had stuff to upload. I was trying to be a bit more creative with certain things, but also there was a certain grind element to it, right? Because when you're doing that much content, you can't differentiate it as much. I think we talked about this before, but it's very difficult for me to recall any specific battles in 5th gen just because of the sheer quantity that I did, right? Like there's less significant that sticks out in my mind, and it's weird, like, because when I first got to university, I was in a place where I couldn't actually play the game because the internet situation there was such that my DS wouldn't connect to the Wi-Fi. Like it was a house share situation where it was controlled by the university, and so they had their own Wi-Fi system in there. And as soon as I got there, I was like, oh shit, what the fuck am I going to do? Because I couldn't play. Like, there was just really no way for me to do so.
They didn't want you playing games on their Wi-Fi?
Yeah, it was really weird, actually, because university...
It's almost like you need to do some real work.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with university is it actually requires a lot less work, generally, than what I did at school. The end of my school time was...
I know, I've been there.
Yeah, the end of my school time was very intensive in terms of workload, like crazy. And university was way, way slacker because you just don't have that many classes to go to, and so you have a lot of free time, which I feel like I squandered a lot of because just...
I wouldn't call it squandered.
Sure. You can look at it however which way you like.
I feel I squandered it by watching it. You were creating it. There's a slight difference.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I was watching a lot of YouTube as well at that point in my life. I still do these days, but my watch later on YouTube has 300 videos in it right now. I'm just never going to catch up on that, so I'm kind of resigned to it burning and me never going back.
Coincidentally, my YouTube channel has about 300 videos. I'm just seeing a pattern here.
Well, you know, we'll see. I have watched most of your videos, so I do have a good finger on the pulse. You know what? A thing that I miss from old YouTube, just to go off on a tangent,
go on.
is it used to tell you how many videos you had personally watched, which I loved. and now I can't see that stat anymore.
Maybe that just got depressing after a while.
It would. I would be fascinated to see how many YouTube videos I've watched in the last, 10 years? That's just crazy. It's been around for a decade, hasn't it? Because I imagine it would be somewhere in like the 200,000 range or something absurd. Like, I have watched a fuck ton of YouTube videos. So yeah, I guess getting back to the idea of doing all these battles, because I couldn't do them where I was, I would go home at certain weekends, and I would just binge. Like, I'd be on Skype constantly with people like Nick, and I'd be doing live streams in order to get a bunch of battles, because that was a point in time when like live streaming had started to become more of a thing. So I was doing that. I was just going on every website I could. I think I was using Twitter as well, maybe, to source some battles. It may have still been in the day when Smogon had their battle finder little thing that was super useful. But that's what I was doing. And so what I would do is I'd go home for the weekend, record 25, 30 battles, and then have enough stock for this X period of time going back to university. And so I was really deep in it, because I think at that time it was also around the kind of Poker Mosh Pit era when that was bubbling up. And so these two things are kind of converging, right? Because on the one hand you have King Daddy DMAC and Hayden, who are starting up this new effort in the idea to. And it's funny because everyone says, let me let you in on a secret. Everyone was like, oh yeah, Poker Mosh Pit's so good for the community, so good to like show like unknown voices out there, get some cool people on the channel. And really the intent behind it was more the rich get richer, like the idea that all these people who are already established got to basically cross-promote with everyone else, because everyone was forcing each other onto this one hub, right? And so every time a big person would upload onto Poker Mosh Pit, they would see a ton of subscribers, because they would be reaping the benefits of the other channels and their viewers who had kind of flocked there.
So it's a bit like all Pokemon videos now, where it's like, here's my top 10 Pokemon, but I've invited other YouTuber to help with this list, because I can't possibly go from 1 to 10 on my own.
Exactly. Well, it's very interesting, because you saw the kind of at the tail end of Gen 5, like leading into Gen 6, you saw this new generation of Pokemon YouTubers pop up who are more Let's Play focused, right? But they all kind of hung out together and were on Skype together and cross-promoted each other. Like, I'm talking about people like Game Boy Luke and Shady Penguin and like all these people, right? They became the next kind of generation of YouTubers, and the reason they did so well is because they just, cross-promoted the shit out of each other. They were always in each other's videos, constantly giving shout-outs, constantly doing this stuff, and because of that, viewership crossed over, and they ballooned in size, right? They just blew up because they were helping each other out. And that's generally the case when it comes to YouTube, is you want to be able to do stuff with other people in order to get bigger. And for me and my era of people, I think it happened naturally, just because we just wanted to find people who we liked and were friends with, and just by the nature of my friends being people who were my similar size or bigger, we all benefited. So with Poker Mosh Pit, it was very much this effort to get a lot of videos out there constantly, like this daily upload thing. And so every now and again you would submit a video to get added there, and everyone would do well. And the end goal of it obviously was to get partnered, which was a big thing, which hadn't happened for gaming YouTubers, because it was very difficult regarding copyright stuff. Like, you couldn't do it unless you had the support of a company like Machinima, and people didn't like Machinima because they were shady. They still are. Fuck Machinima, they're a piece of shit. Anyway, the idea was that all of us would eventually grow big enough to where DMAC would have the conversation with the studio, and then we would all get partnered. And it took a while, maybe a year or so, but it did happen, and it was like me and Flamin' Spade and Quandaren 66, Eric, Elo, Dangerous 36M, Rick, all of us were kind of the top of the chain, and so we were the ones who were first getting partnered. I actually remember DMAC now still has an absurd following, but he does a bunch of different shit. He's really chased the money. I think DMAC is really businessman first, YouTuber second, because he went down the Minecraft route and made a ton of viewers there. He now does Ark Survival Evolved. I don't know if you've heard of that game.
I have not.
It's like basically like it's a survival game, like one of these Steam survival games where you like capture dinosaurs or something. I don't know a lot about it, but it's huge on YouTube and stuff. And so he leaned into that. He does Ark videos now, and he has hundreds of thousands of views on all his videos. So he basically he followed the money, which I think he would probably he would probably admit that as well. Because I'm not sure he really enjoys doing it. I'm sure there is a sense of enjoyment there, but
there's worse jobs. Put it that way.
Exactly. And so he was sniffing after the cash, and he did very well from doing that. But part of the reason for that was I remember being in a Skype call with him once, and him being like, "Okay, click on this channel," and I clicked, and it was Ray William Johnson, everyone's favorite. And
he's doing great at the moment.
And yes, I'm sure he is.
He's still a millionaire, but we can all take a moment to enjoy the decline of Ray William Johnson.
Yes, I agree. It's really funny because when you don't mention YouTubers like that for a long time, you say their name again, you're like, wait the second, what the fuck happened to that person? Like they just disappeared. But in his, I believe it was like, the recommended channels that you can put in the sidebar of like people you want to recommend. I believe there was some Machinima thing in there or some gaming. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he told me to click on that, and I clicked on that. And then from there, he told me to click on another thing. And it basically took me to a channel that was called Machinima Pokemon or Pokemon Machinima or something like that. And DMAC was basically saying that Machinima had struck a deal with him to do an entire channel, a Machinima-sponsored channel that was going to be based on Pokemon, which was going to be fucking huge. Like, it was really exciting because we all thought, man, if we get in with Machinima and this blows up, we could basically have this as our job, essentially. Like, it was exciting times. And there was a reason that didn't follow through. That's why it ended up being the other Mosh Pit channel, which I can't remember the name of. But it was a Machinima channel. It just wasn't Machinima Pokemon. It was like, God, I can't even fucking remember. It'll come to me maybe at some point. But it was the secondary version of Pokemosh Pit. And it was kind of basically the same thing, although I think they wanted to keep more of a focus on like good battles as opposed to, like fun narrations or anything. It was more focused on, more competitive stuff, I guess you'd say. Because as competitive as Pokemon was back in the day, like a lot of channels like me goofed around a bunch and like used really dumb sets just for fun and stuff like that. So a lot of those videos would end up on Pokemosh Pit and people would enjoy them. Like the famous Fizzy Stardust Brave Bird Everything meme is from a Pokemosh Pit video that he put up. And so yeah, around that time I was doing a lot of videos because I was on the verge of getting partnered. I had excitement about what Pokemon was going to be doing for me and like the idea of Pokemosh Pit and all this other stuff happening. There was just a lot of things, coals in the fire. What's the phrase?
Irons in the fire.
Irons in the fire. Irons in the coal. I don't know. Irons in the fire.
It's That's irons in the fire, NBZ. I know my.
All right, all right. I'll let you can be in charge of the idioms. Essentially, there was a lot going on, and so I think that's a big reason why I was driven to do it. It was also like at university, I was not enjoying myself. It was kind of isolated. I wasn't enjoying the course I was doing. I was in a bad place, basically, at my first university. And Pokemon was something that I could have on a schedule reliably and enjoy doing and kind of lock myself away and just focus on.
I guess it was something you knew as well. Like something that had always been part of your life.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Comforting.
Yeah, and also I had thousands of people watching me and like that validation from comment sections. Obviously, it's really bad because people, when you see one negative comment, it just ruins your day and you can have a million good comments and just it doesn't change anything, right? But I was getting a lot of great feedback from people, comments constantly. and it was also kind of the Five Guys and a Gigalith era starting to come through there, although that hadn't quite happened yet, I don't think. But it was a big time for me, and so I was really pushing, and I was really trying to get out there and get myself partnered, and so that I could have this extra revenue stream coming through, which would allow me the freedom to do stuff like buy a computer, which I eventually did with some YouTube money. Like, I spent £1,000, like 1,200 or something, on this fantastic desktop, which is amazing and I love and I've had for like 4 or 5 years now, and that's all because of the YouTube stuff, which is so crazy to me. But yeah, it was, I guess, how did I keep up with the regular output? It was kind of for my own sanity, as well as I just really enjoyed doing the video stuff. It was less that I was enjoying Pokemon as much, because I was enjoying Pokemon. It wasn't the same love that I'd had for it back in 4th gen, but it was much more leaning into, I love making videos, and it's a really satisfying feedback loop to get people to watch these and keep coming back and grow my channel. So yeah, I think that probably sums up most of that.
Did so some of the love for Pokemon was perhaps fading at that point, but the love for video making was strong. But sure, did some of the love for Pokemon perhaps go into the Let's Play channel, which to me as a viewer always seemed where your heart was during this time?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's funny because I was way more focused on being consistent with, and I've always been more focused on being consistent with my main channel. But the Let's Play channel was really fun. It was just an outlet, I guess, to just spout a bunch of nonsense and play some games that I liked.
And it was quite consistently updated in that time as well. Like, I remember seeing your main channel, and then like suddenly there'd be 3 videos on the Let's Play channel. I'm like, how are you doing this?
Yeah, I think because I wanted to have every single day have a Let's Play episode out on like a weekly basis, like 5 days a week, I guess, which is really fucking hard. Like, I've been trying to get back into do some videos recently. I've been doing Fire Emblem and Ori and the Blind Forest, and I'm like, okay, I'll bulk record a bunch. I'll do like some daily uploads, and it takes a long time to not only record but to edit, to render, to upload. Like, there's a lot of steps in the process, and it's hard to keep that pace. I think when I first started my first university, I was in the middle of my Super Luigi Galaxy playthrough, and so I wanted to have... Yeah, it's a fun one, for sure.
It's where I was born, I think, in that playthrough.
You're right, I can't remember what episode it is, but Sanjit the Idiot begins like during Super Mario Galaxy. And so, yeah, I was really into just getting that done. Eventually, it led to the never-ending meme that is my Twilight Princess LP, which it will finish one day. It will be the longest-running Let's Play series in all of YouTube, and I will be proud for it. But yeah, it was. I enjoyed that. I think it was funny because, you know, it wasn't a massive audience that I was doing stuff to, but there were enough people there that enjoyed it, and that I had a fun time doing it. So I feel like I was less obsessed with the numbers back then. I mean, before I was at university. When I got to university and I was really into doing Pokemon stuff, the numbers became a big deal. And that's a really bad thing, I think, generally for any YouTuber. When it starts going from doing it for the sake of doing it to doing it to see the numbers go up, that's when it's when you start to lose a bit of the authenticity, I think.
I'm sure there were lots of reasons for that, and for then the eventual kind of slowing down of your upload schedule. But I guess as a fan, me as your fan, speaking very personally, I grew up in a place where Pokemon really stopped being popular after the age of 12, and then became a bullyable offense.
I'm right with you as well. Like that happened to me too.
Finding your channel a person of similar age, I believe you are 1 year younger than myself.
Sure, probably, yeah. You know, we're around the same.
Uploading all this Pokemon, getting really into it, being kind of unashamed and, you know, nerdy about all these numbers and showing me things I didn't know. I was like, oh my god, brother, hello, I have found you. And that kind of validated all of that, and then seeing all of the community around it, like Nick and the friends, and it just seemed like all doing it for the love of doing it was a really big attraction for me. I did notice when it started to become a little bit more numbers focused, but I still enjoyed it and I could still understand it. I just wonder what changed for you eventually that caused a kind of the slowdown. Was it the partnership kind of didn't go as planned, or was it just kind of burnout from the numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know when the slowdown would have first started, but I think it was just an inability to constantly try and innovate and do something different. Like, that's the idea of Five Guys and a Gigalith was born from my just there was a lot of people trying to do what I did, right? Like, during 5th gen especially, loads of people came onto the scene. Like, Shofu was someone who was not known at all beforehand. I'd actually played Shofu when he had like 800 subscribers in a tournament, and he was on like the Team Equinox chat or whatever, and I remember it being a really good match and like almost going down to the wire, and then it disconnected and we had to replay, and the second time round, like, he beat me quite handily because some things had changed, and I was really gutted, but I was like, this guy is pretty good, like, he seems alright. And then as soon as 5th gen started, I just saw his name popping up again and again, and he was doing what I had eventually ended up doing in Gen 5, but I guess I did it a bit too late, was just the grind, just every day, video. And you saw this with people like the Killer Nacho as well, who in 4th gen had a massive following because he was just every day. And that's the thing that YouTube likes, and their algorithm is like quantity versus quality. And, you know, those guys did put out a bunch of quality stuff as well, but it was quantity focused first and foremost, and that's what, you know, that's how you get successful. So where was I guess my point was, there were a lot of people out there doing what I was doing, and they were all doing the same thing. I was very critical about the Pokemon community during 5th gen because the number of just copycat people who would just the quality of the narration had really gone downhill, right? Like, it had become something that was just play by play, and that wasn't why I had been interested in narrations in the first place. Like, the reason I was drawn to people like Xerxes, the Shadow Project, Zelda Master Timmy, was because they didn't just do a play by play. They walked you through their process of, at this point in the match, I was thinking, I got these two options. Where do I go? Do I do this and risk that opportunity, or do I do this? I go with this option because, and thus this is the result of that, right? Whereas you have people coming in who are like, so I go for the Stealth Rock, and then he switches out, and then I go for this move. Just literally saying what you're seeing, which is just bad commentary. And so I was trying to stand out from that crowd, I think. And I think, like, just trying to have the quality of my narrations be higher wasn't enough. So I came up with these weird things like Five Guys and a Gigalith, and like a bunch of times when I randomly did the guitar thing with the Garchomp, and I did the Pokemon, the Blue Battle, where I basically did an entire cover of I'm Blue, dabba-dee-dabba-da, but with Pokemon lyrics.
I know, I've heard that so much, because I use YouTube in a very unconventional way, in that I don't use any of the side features, I just link to your page to go into it.
Right,
and,
okay.
I think maybe one of my channels, because I don't use a Sanjit channel because it's not linked to my Gmail, and it's just
right.
That's annoying.
Oh my god!
Because I need to be in my Gmail.
It's such a fucking mess is YouTube and Gmail and everything.
I think the other channel I have isn't subscribed to you, so I always get that video when I click onto it.
Okay.
So
right. Okay,
whenever I click onto YouTube, I'm always, don't take this personally, I'm trying to rush to click somewhere else so I don't have to listen to the start of that song.
No, I get you. It's a running joke, I think, with YouTubers, is like they go to their own channel and they're like, oh, fucking shut up, me, I don't want to hear you. Stop auto-playing myself. Like,
I think you should have used
constantly.
my video for your intro that I did, where it's, my name is... Do you remember that one? No, is the answer.
I can't remember what I can't remember what you're referencing. I'm sure I will if you.
Yeah,
if
you will when you
but,
see it. It's a video I did where
sure.
it's you say like, "Hi, my name is," and then I fill in with numerous other things. Thank you for pretending to remember.
No. I do. This is the thing. You have made so many goddamn videos of just like weird edited things of me that are just like hilarious. It's hard to like keep track of them all.
That's true.
But yeah, where was I? Yeah, so I was trying to do a lot of creative stuff like that. And eventually it just seemed like I was fighting a losing battle, where people didn't care no matter what, you know?
I felt there was a stage where like YouTube channels that had been around for a while just started doing less good than new ones. It seemed to be like, I don't know if that was an algorithm thing or whether it's just a coincidence, but
I'm sure the algorithm has something to do with it.
Or maybe it was that audiences were getting younger with the new gen coming in. They wanted that younger face, maybe.
Yeah,
you were
absolutely.
too old. You had your chance. You're an MTV presenter. You've gone past it.
I think definitely changing audiences and changing culture of YouTube was definitely a big thing, I think, around that time. Like, the year that my channel really went downhill was 2014. That was when all my views were like on a downward curve, my subscribers were on a downward curve, and it was the end of that year that I quit Pokemon, basically. But essentially what I think had happened is, you're right, all these new people had come in, and their style was very much super excited, just, hey, smash the like button, which, you know, people always did back in the day, but they weren't ever so brazen about it. And also, question of the day, answer this. And also, like, you know, just really trying to, like, calling your subscribers a name, like, you know, all that stuff of culture had come up, and it was jiving with a younger audience who liked that stuff. And so with someone like me, who fucking loathes that shit and thinks
I'm in that camp too. I can't
the
stand
fucking worst, I would not degrade myself. And, you know,
I appreciate that. Thank you for not degrading yourself and destroying your channel.
I'm going to be honest, I kind of did at the end a little bit.
I know. I was being
hog.
kind.
I know, but, like, you know, there were definitely people like me who were trying to be a bit kind of, you know, hey, give me this many likes. And
we're going to shoot for this many likes in this video.
Yes. The only video that I really did the likes thing on was Five Guys and a Gigalith. And the reason I did that was because I fucking killed myself over making that series. The first episode of season 4 or 3, or I can't remember which one it was, took me like 15 hours editing. I was just whole hog on it, like really dedicated to it, trying to make it perfect as possible. I was like, guys, I put a fuck ton of work in this. Like, it would be great if this blew up and, like, got a lot of views, and, you know, likes are tied into that stuff. So when it was something I was proud of and thought, like, I need this to be seen by people, I put in so much effort for people to be like, yeah, you know, like this video, get it out there. But otherwise, yeah, it was at the end when I was trying to do the face cam stuff, and it's like, man, this just isn't me. This isn't what I do. And that's, like, kind of around the period where I just, like, kind of like, yeah, I can't keep doing this anymore. My heart's not in it. I was trying to basically be people who were doing well, and I was like, well, they're doing well by doing X, Y, and Z, and if I follow that, maybe I'll do well as well. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. So yeah, it just kind of fizzled by the end there. And, you know, I still had fun making videos in that last year. It was still enjoyable, but you can understand that it's demoralizing to have grown this great channel and have done so well, and then you just see you going nowhere, like almost going backwards to some degree. Like, my subscriber base was 40,000, I believe, at the start of 2014. And it was maybe 42 or 41,000 at the end, you know, like it was, I hadn't grown at all. Like, nothing had happened. And so, at that point I was basically sick of Pokemon, and I was just doing it.
Yeah. If you were finding less and less love as well, that's the sort of double whammy. And right. I suppose you said, like, you were in a bad place at uni for a time, and that kind of prompted a load of uploads. I suppose things got better on that front as well, and you were, you know, kind of focusing on other things too.
Yeah, I mean, when I moved to university to a different one, that was definitely like, okay, I'm going to focus on doing well here, getting stuff done, meeting different people and stuff like that, and yeah, I guess that was a big thing, which kind of prompted me to be like, I don't necessarily need to focus this hard on YouTube anymore. It was good at the end of, like, 2013, I think, because the end of 2013, X and Y were coming out, and I was making bank at the end of that year because I was doing this thing called the X and Y Daily, which was a really easy to edit video series.
A money grab, NBZ. It was a money grab.
Oh, it was a money grab. 100%. Look, I don't deny it. I was all in there for the cash.
I'm not criticizing you, but we all knew what it was.
No. Look, it was an open goal, man. I had to shoot.
You did.
So
Made out like a bandit.
For that month, that 30 days before X and Y, I just went all in with like, okay, they were revealing Pokemon constantly for that game, and so every day I would go over one, talk about what it looked like, talk about the potential competitive thing of it, and I had like this template that I would basically, it was really intense because I was doing university during the day, I was coming back, having to eat in like the dining hall area, come back to my room, and just like in an hour I would just start to finish, make the video, edit it, upload it, all that stuff. And it was a grind, but it made me a lot of money, so I don't regret doing it. But the real problem with that was I hadn't planned what I was going to do afterwards, and a lot of people had already bought 3DS capture cards. They were already ready for the next generation, and I hadn't. I was like, well, I'm just going to go back to using my camera like I always did, because that's what I always did. And most people are going to have to do that, right? Because 3DS capture cards are hard to come by. What I didn't realize is all these new YouTubers had already been out there and got their 3DS capture cards. And so they basically did Let's Plays and stuff and just skyrocketed straight away because they had the ease of access. Whereas I had my shitty camera quality, which in 2013/2014 YouTube didn't quite fly in the same way that it did back in 08-09. So I think that may also have a lot to do with it. I mean, some of my early X and Y battles have a crazy amount of views, like 30,000 sometimes, but I could definitely see that I wasn't getting as many videos up as other people, and my quality visually wasn't as good, so people wouldn't click on them, I guess, like later down the line. And yeah, eventually after a year of X and Y, it was like, yeah, I'm kind of done. So
I'll always click on a crappy video thumbnail. I like them more. It's because my channel is so crappy.
Yeah, I always the thing that I loved about old YouTube was whenever someone uploaded, you could tell it was them without even reading their name because of the thumbnail camera quality. I'd be like, that's a Magnitude video, that's a Dranza Gigs video, that's a Quandaren video. Like, I could tell from the camera that was used, that's who that person was. And that's something I felt got lost when everyone switched to emulators and using that kind of clean look, which was a shame.
Yeah,
but,
I think
I'm an old fart, so
I miss from the early days is just the love of doing, like, whenever you saw a video, like, this person's uploaded it because they really wanted to upload it and for no other reason.
Yes.
And that was just nice. So we can move on to kind of what you're doing next, but I think let's just finish looking back first. So what was your favourite thing that you've made on YouTube? Was it Five Guys and a Gigalith, even though it was at the kind of frenetic pace, but like you invested so much time in it? Was it your Fire Emblem Let's Play? Was it your Sandstorm team? Was it something else entirely? Was it Sanjit the Idiot's channel? I know it was.
That what a great channel that was. Man, I think the thing I'm most proud of is maybe different from my favorite thing.
All right, go on, go for both.
Like I think my favorite stuff on my channel is shit that took zero effort. Like me and Nick playing fucking PO random, whatever the fuck it was called, Challenge Cup.
That's a good shout, actually. That's good.
Challenge Cup was the shittest quality content possible.
You and Nick is something quite special to behold.
We just dumped out stuff constantly. We were just like, okay, let's record for an hour and just bullshit. And it was the most fun thing in the world. We loved it. We just fucking, jabbed each other constantly, just back and forth. I remember someone made a trailer for our Challenge Cup series, and it was fucking hilarious because it just took these great moments, like sliced them all together. I loved it. Like, I think the hardest I have laughed in the last 10 years was during one of those videos. It's a special video called Having a Laugh. If you type in Having LAFF, because I titled that video really dumb in a really stupid way. It's when Nick we're playing on the Asian Patriot server, and Nick comes in with the name Asian McKellen, and I see that name and I lose my fucking mind. It's like the greatest pun I've ever seen in my life, and it's just the two of us literally laughing for like 6 minutes straight. Like, that's the video. It's absurd. Like, it's so dumb. But whenever I'm like, I need a smile, I need a laugh, I go back to that video, and it gets me every time.
I think that's good advice for everyone. If you need a laugh, go and watch that video.
Yeah, it's so good. But yeah, generally stuff I did with Nick was amazing fun. I think it was really weird because our PBR series got crazy good views. There's that one with the
Crobat. Is that the
Crobat thumbnail?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the thumbnail's doing. I'm not belittling the rest of the video, which is great.
You're right. Yeah, you're 100% correct. It was the thumbnail that rocketed that one to some ridiculous 100,000 number or something. But it's funny because the second video, which I think is one of the best videos on my channel, has more views than that, even than the Crobat one. And that thumbnail isn't anything too crazy. But it's the one that ends with the Exploud, my Exploud being locked into the sound move. I can't remember what it's called. And Nick brings in his Porygon 2 and it traces the soundproof. So I'm locked into this sound move at the end of the game. It was just the most perfect thing. Oh my god, it was amazing. And yeah, so that entire series of PBR was so much fun. I love doing that. And it's funny because like that stuff was just all live recorded. It was just me and Nick bullshitting back and forth. But it is no doubt some of my favorite stuff on the channel, just because it's just funny, you know. I just like it. I think stuff I'm more proud of is definitely Five Guys and a Gigalith. That kind of more edited stuff. I'm actually very proud of a video I did more recently, which was it was a series that I want to do a bit more of, which was it was a video about the GBA Fire Emblem, which I basically talked about like how I got the game, my childhood with it, like why I like it, why I think it holds up today. And that was a very heavily edited thing, but it took me a very long time, but it's something that I want to do more of, and it's something I was very happy with. So that kind of stuff is big. But man, Five Guys and Gigalith is really weird because it evolved very naturally. It was initially just the original idea behind the team was I wanted to make a really offensive team but have a stealth rocker in there. So I was like, okay, let's just find things that are really offensive and also have priority. That was
yes, it was priority
theme. Yes, I wanted as much priority on the team as possible. So I think most members had priority. Like Mach-Punch, Hitmonchan, Azumarill had Aquajet,
Arcanine Extreme Speed.
Arcanine Extreme Speed. Ninjask was just
fast
fucking fast, so who cares? So yeah, that was basically the premise, was like, let's be fast as hell and just be able to revenge kill stuff, like come in and just chip stuff away if it wasn't dead. And so I'd chosen a Gigalith because it was a UU team and I needed a good stealth rocker lead thing, so I just done that. And it took like 3 videos or so, and I kind of kept mentioning, it's like, oh, there's this one team again. I was like, and then at the beginning of one video, I think I just say, this is the Five Guys and a Gigalith or something. And people really took to it in a really crazy way. Like, it was my videos where people kept asking me to use the team constantly. And I was like, man, this is fun. And I knew the team wasn't a good team, competitively speaking, you know? Like, it was just this thing I'd thrown together as an experiment to be fun. But people really liked it. And it was really weird because eventually you got these 2 camps of people. One camp who were like, I used to like it when it was just kind of normal narrations, but, you know, with the idea of the Five Guys and a Gigalith coming in here and this cool team. And then you had the other people who are like, oh my god, I fucking love what you did with this and made it this like absurd thing that is unlike anything else in Pokemon YouTubing. And so like going back to the comment I made earlier about one bad comment can ruin your day, I remember putting up that first episode that I'd worked 15 hours on, and there was this one guy who made this comment that he was kind of like in the camp of like, I used to be better when you didn't do all this crazy stuff with Fire and a Gigalith. Like, I really don't like this. And it was starting to get a lot of thumbs up from people, and I was like, oh my god, this is so bad. And yet there's like 300 other comments of people being like, I fucking love this, you genius. But I just can't see, you know, I just can't see the positive. So that's man, yeah, the human brain is a fucked up thing, you know. It's really
it hears negative stuff so much more easily. It's so difficult.
It does, yeah. And it's a shame because like there were people who just adored that stuff, and I really enjoyed making it because it was just different. It was something that no one else was doing, and I thought it was really good. And I always tried to be a bit creative within it, you know, like I did that one episode which was just a poem the entire time. I did one episode where I went off the rails with the voices, and then the voices became a thing. You know, like the Giga Impact was...
I liked Hitmonchan's like backstory where he went to like a monastery or something to meditate.
Yeah, like giving it a backstory and making them characters. And actually, the thing that Five Guys and a Gigalith really just coalesced for me was my channel had always been about characters, really. Like, the Pokemon that I'd used, I would usually call them by their nicknames, not
Mrs.
by their
T,
Pokemon.
Nubs,
right, Sophos, like Nubs, they became characters within the kind of universe of my Pokemon career, like battling
Mantler.
stuff. And yeah, Mantler, of course.
The fucking man. A late comer, the fucking man, but
yeah, but a good one,
same.
a good one. And so yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why people liked watching me was I kept using the same Pokemon relatively frequently. I wasn't one of these people who had a new team every single battle and was just playing for the sake of like, oh, I'm trying to optimize my team and do this, right? I was much more, hey, I'm having fun with these Pokemon, and let's see if we can bring a Stantler to an OU match and get it to do something.
I love the fact that you had your own kind of crop of Pokemon and you brought them to almost every battle. I think there was a time when like you used teams that other people had made for you, and that was kind of interesting to see you use other teams. But I was like, no, bring Stantler back.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that was the charm of it, you know, just using those guys. So yeah, Five Guys and a Gigalith was I was very proud of. I really like my Sandstorm team a lot. Sandstorm team was more of an era where I was trying to be good at the game as opposed to be entertaining at the game. But it was also like it was kind of the bridge, you know, it was the bridge of like I made this really good Sandstorm team. Also, people kind of like the Pokemon I use in this, and they are becoming more characters, and Nubs kind of grew out of that. So it was. I think that was kind of more a transition point. I still love that team to death. It's so much fun.
How does it feel to kind of... I think you probably could claim to have popularised Shuckle, or at least made Shuckle seem viable.
Sure. Yeah.
How does that feel? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. It's interesting because I feel like a lot of Pokemon YouTubers were associated with a Pokemon back in the day. You had like Magnitude with Scyther, you had Elo with Kangaskhan, you had Rick with Psyduck, like whether that was their avatar or the thing they used often or whatever. But for me, I think Shuckle was a big deal for my channel. There was one point that my channel background was just Shuckle plastered over and over again.
I remember.
It was really... It's funny, if you go on the way back
when,
machine,
I was going to say the way back
actually,
when, I think that's what you get.
You can find that old channel design is hilarious.
When I used to be a proper stalker of yours, I go on way back when you had like the little about thing, and it was like I like badminton and tennis, but not this or something.
Yeah. Oh, it was so good. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah, it's really cool. It's interesting because Shuckle was much more of an organic. Yeah, it wasn't like an intended thing. I think it just kind of happened. Because the Sandstorm team was initially born out of the idea of a gym that I had been building for O&M. I was going to be the bug gym leader. I think I was for a little period of time. I was the bug gym leader on O&M. And on that team, I needed something defensive, something that could take hits. But the thing with the gyms was you were allowed one non-type on your team. So I had put a Tyranitar on my team. And at that point, I didn't even think or didn't even realize maybe that rock types got a special defense boost from the sand. So I remember going into my first match against a kid called Nachos. Man, that's really hitting me in the face. I've just pulled that name out of the ether, and now I'm just like, oh shit, that kid called Nachos. He was on O&M. So I was playing him, and I brought out my Shuckle, and it was against something that had like Surf or whatever, like something that Shuckle should be weak to. But the sand was up. And so he used the move, and it did like fucking nothing. I'm like, what? What's going on here? Why is it taking this hit so well? And it was only after the battle that he like PM'd me or something. I was like, oh my god, that Shuckle strategy is so good with the Sandstorm. I guess a special defense boost. And also for the team, I needed more of a special wall. So it was basically max special defense. So basically in the sand, it was just unstoppable. It was absurd. And yeah, that's kind of how that came about. Like after that, I was like, man, this is a great strategy using Shuckle in the sand, because it mitigates a lot of its problems. Like because most water moves going out there are going to be surf or hydro pump or whatever, and they're specially based, so Shuckle can actually take the hit and deal with it. So yeah, that's kind of how that came about. And then after that, I morphed it from a bug gym into a sandstorm based team, and the rest history, I guess, is what they say. So. Yeah,
I suppose we should probably think about rounding off this episode soon, but just one more point on kind of looking back at your Pokemon career, not just your YouTube career, your Pokemon career. Do you have any regrets in Pokemon? And I will share with you a story from my youth to kick us off.
Okay.
Although I haven't rehearsed this story, so it could be incredibly badly told and quite boring. But
okay.
Hey,
all
keep
right,
listening.
That's
keep
fine.
listening, fans.
Yes.
I had during sixth form, which for you Americans is when you're about 17 and 18, I had one of my first girlfriends, the first one I had over to my house, and basically I realised when she came through the door that I'd kind of been like playing a part to her. I'd definitely been trying to seem cooler than I was, and I realised like my room was like covered in Pokemon everywhere. Like there was a shoebox full of cards. Like I had all the games on like a shelf, and I think she like went to the loo or something. So I like ran into my room and I'm like quickly like shoving stuff in cupboards and just like I don't know why I hadn't thought of this beforehand. And like I remember picking up like all the DS games with like the spines facing outward, like Pokemon this, Pokemon that, Pokemon this, turning them round so it was just like the plain plastic of like the other side of them. And then like putting them back on the shelf, so it just looked weird. Like I had this like row of plastic on my shelf rather than any spines facing outwards, and just trying to hide everything. I think what I should have done in that situation is just kind of like gone, yeah, I like Pokemon, and it wouldn't have been a big deal. But because I'd kind of grown up in this thing, like Pokemon is like uncool and no one will like you, I desperately tried to hide who I was. So I think my regret is actually just not having enough personality to just kind of own it and be like, I like Pokemon and that's fine. Like if you have a problem with it, it's your problem.
Yeah.
100%. So that is my regret of how Pokemon kind of influenced my life and how I don't let anything like that influence me, like trying to be cool or anything. I know you grow out of it as you get older, and I'm now an old man comparatively in my 20s, and I now don't give a shit about almost anything. But it was a useful lesson, but it's a regret I had, and it's probably why I'm not saying that high school relationship could have lasted forever, but it's probably one of the reasons why it ended was because I was desperately trying to be someone else who I wasn't, and it was probably painfully obvious.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's I think that probably rings true for a lot of people. When you're that age in school, it can ruin you, I think, really, because school is so fucking artificial and it's based around, people's personalities are not what they should be, really. Like people hide behind things constantly. I think that was very similar when I was at school. I was very active in not letting anyone know that I had a YouTube channel, let alone that I was doing Pokemon, let alone that it was competitive Pokemon, right? Like, come on, when I'm a 16-year-old, that shit's not going to fly, it just isn't. And so, it was me and my two friends, Bally and Ali T, and we were kind of the three people who, at the grand old age of 16, were still playing Pokemon, and, no one else gave a shit. So it was very much hush-hush around us, and when we would talk about it, we'd make sure no one else was around and that kind of thing, It's funny because the reason Bally deleted his first channel, which was called Jack White the Fifth, I think.
Was there one called like 350Z, or am I dreaming? Is it like had a motorbike on it?
So Cortez is the one, maybe?
Okay, maybe.
Yeah. Cortez was Ali T's name, although his YouTube channel was called Cortates with an 8 instead of a 3 because he couldn't get the 3 for whatever reason. Thanks, YouTube. It's the reason I have Emperor ZNB instead of NBZ, because YouTube, thanks.
That's because you can't spell. That's no other reason.
Yes, that's the real truth. So he had a channel, and I think it's still... You know what? I'm going to quickly just type it in
live
and
Googling.
See. I'm pretty sure...
I'll fill in while you type.
Look, as the good doctors say, there's nothing more interesting than a man on the radio typing on the internet.
I haven't listened to that podcast in ages. We're talking about a film podcast on the BBC.
Mark Kermode and Simon Mayo, yes, Wittertainment.
Yes.
Hello to Jason Isaacs.
If you're interested in films, go check it out. Yes, hello, Jason.
Hello, Jason. Yes, this channel does exist. I'll actually link it to you right now.
Oh my god.
It's hilarious because one of these videos has 11,000 views. I'm like, what? How did that happen? I think the reason why is because, and it was probably the reason why some of my early videos got picked up with quite a few views, is because every time I battled someone, I would put in brackets where they were from, like where I'd battled them. And so I would put Smogon and Mariland and Cerebi in my video titles. And so I think the algorithm, which deals with like, titles and descriptions and stuff and tags, was like, people are searching for these terms, Smogon and Mariland and Cerebi, and so they're bringing up my videos as opposed to stuff to do with those actual websites, because I just battled people on those websites. So that's my theory as to why that video has so many views. But yeah, that's it's a fun story with that one, because that's one of the videos I uploaded. Was he was at my house trying to record something, and his mum calls him in the middle of us doing the battle. And I
had
just
to go home for
we
dinner.
were in the middle of live. Yeah, we're in the middle of live recording, and I just basically, I'm like, okay, it's all right. I'll send it to you. I'll edit it. And so I'm a dick friend, and I basically upload it with his conversation with his mum. Oh my god, it was hilarious. Yeah, that was great. But I guess in terms of like embarrassing, regretful stories, there's a lot of stuff just at school where it was like someone had come into Ali T's study while he was playing Pokemon, I think, and then started saying to people, oh, he plays Pokemon, and then Ali T basically tried to drag me down with him. He's like, oh, he plays too, him too. Like, the real dick move.
That must be like thinking that
down.
you're cool, though, that NBZ's coolness will pull me out of this.
Yeah, exactly, or something. I don't know. He didn't want to go down on his own. He decided to sink both of us, basically. And ultimately, it didn't really go anywhere. No one really
did
cared.
you fold your arms and go, I only play a bit?
No, probably. That's probably a pretty good impression of me at that age, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. I think the funniest story is of Ali T. There's a lot of Ali T funny stories, I'll tell you. But him and Bally were in science class. I can't remember which one. Chemistry, physics might be. And they were discussing team composition, and Ali T had written down a list of 6 Pokemon. He was like showing it to Bally. He's like, okay, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And there's a break between the lessons. They had like double period or whatever, and so they had to go out for the break. And after the break, the teacher was like, I've been walking around the room to see what people have been doodling during the lesson, and seems like Ali T has written some strange language. And so
why are teachers dicks?
I don't know, they just are. So he starts freaking the fuck out, thinking people are gonna discover that he loves Pokemon and that he's a nerd and all this shit. And everyone gathers around the table, everyone's like looking at it, and they're all trying to like understand what he's written. But he's written shit like Hippowdon and like Gardevoir and all this nonsense, so no one has any fucking clue what it is. And because, we're in 4th gen and there's a lot more Pokemon that just, casual, 90s kids wouldn't know, and I don't think he'd put down Blastoise or something like that. Luckily for him, no one caught on, and people were like, "You're weird, Ali T. I don't know what language you're writing in." Probably, yeah, probably.
Gardevoir 252 Spatak.
Yeah, exactly. Like shit like that was probably written. He probably wrote out the EVs as well, like the IV spread. It was ridiculous. And yeah, that was something that I remember them telling me, and me just like losing my mind. That's so funny that happened. But yeah, I don't know, as far as me personally, I eventually got to the point where I was like, I don't give a fuck if people know that I do this, and I was openly telling people about it eventually, and no one really cared, honestly. It's one of those things where people don't actually care.
Did you like wave the YouTube money in their face, like, look, no, I would do it, it makes me money?
Yeah, a little bit. It was that helped for sure. It helped that I was making money off of it, because I had more of a justification rather than this is what I spend my free time doing. But yeah, eventually it was like, yeah, I do this. So what?
The moral of the story, children, is just do what you want as long as you don't hurt anyone.
Yeah.
And it's probably better just to be honest about it and just be like, yeah, this is what I do.
Probably,
Shrug.
but also school's a hard place, you know. I don't know.
I guess you forget that when you're in school, it's
Yeah.
just a cesspool. You've got to survive, really.
Yeah, you can survive, and then as soon as you're out there, you can, be yourself. It's much easier. But I guess that's probably it.
Okay. We've been talking for quite a while.
Yeah.
I wonder if we should split for a part 3 at this point in time.
Yeah, we should.
In the next part, I believe we will look back at when it was acceptable to like Pokemon. It still is acceptable, of course, but I'm talking about the late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
That kind of time and your recollection of that. And we'll talk about the Pokemon games in general. I think we've already... I had on my list that we talk about how YouTube has changed since you started, but I think we've pretty much covered that in this episode, but you may have
a little bit. We can maybe talk a bit more about it, but yeah.
And then we'll talk about the future. So next episode we will do past and future NBZ, and we will also try and squeeze in the much anticipated lightning round of questions.
I forgot about the lightning round.
much quicker than our meandering stories. But if you have listened to all of this, thank you very much for listening. I hope it's been fun for you and interesting for you. I hope you've not been screaming questions you wish I'd asked of NBZ. But you can always ask him yourself in the comment section, and he'll get back to you in a few... When he finishes his Twilight Princess LP. He's quite busy.
Yeah. In sometime in 2056.
But you can ask him, and he'll get back to you eventually. So for now, I suppose, I've been Sanjit the Idiot, the slightly conflicted YouTube personality. I've been with NBZ, and I thank you for watching, and I'm sure he will too.
Thank you, guys. See you next time.
Bye-bye.